guys, what is up? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a new video. So today's video is going to be kind of fun. This is something that I've been wanting to do, and now I finally had time to get it filmed and pick things out. What I'm going to be doing in this video is actually, I hypothetically have $1,000 to spend on modifications for my STI. Now I'm going to be picking things based on my car. I have a 2017 STI. This will apply to anybody with a WRX or STI. Take it for what it's worth. There might be a few different brands here and there, but relatively this is exactly what I would do if I had a WRX as well. This is just based on if I had $1,000 and I was looking to add some modifications to my car. This is just the route I would go. Let me preface this video by saying this applies to both WRX and STI. Granted, some of the brands may be a little bit different, but relatively it'll be around the same price. I'm still going to pick the same type of mods. Keep in mind, I don't want you to think that I'm just talking about an STI. But for my application, obviously I'm talking about an STI because that's what I have. So take it for what it's worth. You can pick out things here and there from what I say. Also, yes, I understand you can buy these used. You can go on the forums, you can go on Facebook Marketplace or wherever you want and find all this stuff used. And you will get it cheaper, no question. But personally, I always like to buy brand new things just so I know the history of it. There's no stories and no weird scratches or weird issues with whatever it is that I'm buying. I always buy new stuff. So everything you see on here is brand new, and that's just the way I approach modifying my cars. It's worked for me, so that's just the way I'm going to do this video. Also keep in mind, I'm not including any labor in this. This is, I personally install everything myself. I do all the work in my garage by myself. So if you are, not mechanically inclined and you have to go to a shop and get all this stuff done, you have to put that into consideration. But for right now, we're just talking about, just mods, what you would buy with $1,000. So let's get this video started of how I would spend $1,000 on my STI. One of the first things I always do to any one of my cars is upgrade the exhaust. Upgrading the exhaust just makes it much more fun to drive. It sounds great. There's just a fun factor to upgrading your exhaust. First thing that I actually did on this car was doing that. I didn't do a full catback that I have currently. All I did was a muffler delete, an axle back. And I highly suggest doing one. They're very reasonably priced, and there's a lot of fun factor in that. You don't have to do a full catback or anything and spend a ton of money on it to get it to sound good. The muffler delete that I chose for this application is a brand called Faction Fab. You can either get it in a full stainless or you can get it with the titanium colored burnt looking tip. I chose the stainless one just because it's cheaper and you still get the same result even though the tip is a little bit different. It's really nice. It's 3.5-inch tip. I believe they're double walled, so it's a really nice looking exhaust. I can't comment on the actual fitment of it, but either way, it's going to sound good. It's a muffler delete. They all sound exactly the same. It comes in at $251.99, so it's nothing crazy. It's nothing like a full catback or anything like that. You'll get a lot of enjoyment out of $250. Keep in mind that is not the exhaust that I'm currently running. I am running the Delta Motorworks catback exhaust. I was going to recommend just doing their axle back, but that alone is over $500. It's a really nice piece. I definitely recommend them, but since we're on a budget here, I wanted to offer something a little bit cheaper that will still get you a really good sound, and it won't break the bank. Second modification I would do with my $1,000 is lowering. Now, coilovers, airbags, anything like that is completely out of the question because you can't get anything that is reasonably priced at $1,000, and plus that would blow your whole budget and you would only be doing one modification. So we're going to be looking at lowering springs. Lowering springs can be controversial. A lot of people say don't do them, they're the best thing, they're the worst thing. But personally, I believe if you do it right and you select the correct spring, I believe you will have a great ownership and it'll be a really fun mod. Putting lowering springs on stock struts will prematurely wear the struts, but the lowering springs that are offered, they don't really go that low. So the ones that I chose aren't really going to prematurely wear them as fast as they would if you were to find the lowest lowering spring possible. My ultimate goal here is to increase performance and lower it slightly, not to slam it and just for looks. I want to increase performance. So the ones that I would choose are by Race Comp Engineering. They're the yellow springs. They lower it just a little bit, just enough to get rid of some of the gap, but it also increases performance. I personally ran the RCE, Race Comp Engineering black springs on my WRX. I also ran them with the Bilstein struts, and it was an awesome combination. So just the springs alone were such a pleasure to drive. It lowered the car just enough, and it really increased the performance. Putting them on WRX or STI will definitely help performance. It's not going to lower it as low as I have right now because I am on coilovers. It will physically look better and it will be that much more fun to drive. Now the Race Comp Engineering yelling springs, they are the most expensive thing on this list that I have. They come in at $379. They are a little bit more expensive than the other lowering springs out there, but personally I don't believe that is something that you should slack on. I don't believe it's something you should cheap out on. Going with a high quality spring like Race Comp Engineering will definitely you'll definitely see the benefits of that. The third thing that I would do with my $1,000 is get a front lip. The stock WRX and STI front bumper is really, really high. It kind of arches up in the front and it looks really, really goofy. It just doesn't flow well with the side of the car. It just looks really odd when you look at it from the side. And even if you don't lower the car, putting a lip on the front will make it appear much lower. I always recommend doing one. It's one of the first things I always do. It's actually one of the first things I did on this car. And this is something that just completely increases the overall aggression to the front end. So I always suggest doing one. It's purely for looks. Obviously, there's no performance gain from it, but it just totally changes the front end, and I highly suggest doing one. Putting a cheaper lip on the front of a car, obviously it makes much more sense for me the way I use this car. I daily drive this thing every single day. I drive in the snow, I'm in New Jersey and everything, so putting a $600-700 carbon fiber front lip on front of my car just doesn't really set well with me. So putting something cheap or cheaper on here that still looks good is definitely right up my alley. Maybe one day I'll upgrade, but for now I've been running this for 3 years now. It looks as good as the first day that I put it on. So you can buy this lip directly from eBay. That's where I got it. I got it from Base & R. It comes in at $114. It's very, very reasonable. It's not crazy priced. So, if you were to damage this or I were to break this one, I would just buy another one. It's not going to hurt the wallet or anything like that, but it adds a really, really good look. And as you can tell, a lot of people love this front lip on my car. They ask me about it all the time. So, as you can see, you don't really need to spend a ton of money on a front lip to make it look good. The fourth thing that I would pick, we're going to go inside the car. As you can see, we're looking at the shifter. And this is something that I always do, and I did the exact same thing to my WRX. I'm talking about the shifter. Personally, on the WRX and STI, the STI is a little bit better from the factory, but either way, both of them are still way too long of a throw. It feels a little sloppy. I don't really like high shifters, so doing a much shorter shift kit is definitely something that I recommend doing. It's one of the first things that I did to this car as well as my previous 13 WRX. And I actually went with the same exact one. And the one I'm talking about is the Cartboy short shift kit, or the short shifter. I have this one in here. I also had it on my WRX, as I said. And it's a very, very simple install. The hardest part, if you do have a 15 plus, dealing with the reverse lockout, you have to go under the car to lock it into place so you don't lose the linkage. But either way, it's a very simple install. You do everything from the top. It really amplifies your overall driving experience. It just feels so much better. The shifts are much shorter, and they're crazy notchy, which I absolutely love. That's what I prefer in a shifter. I don't like when it's really buttery smooth and really numb feeling. I like to feel the car going into gear. It's almost like, I don't want to say gated shifter, but there's steps involved. It's like, you move it over and it pops in twice. So dent, dent. You can feel every movement. It just feels much more engaging. You feel like you're more in control, and I just absolutely love it. Just the shifter alone comes in at $150. There are other brands out there, but I definitely recommend the Cartboy. It's very, very well built. It's lasted, it will outlast the length of the car or your ownership, no question. I definitely suggest doing it. It is one of the best mods that I absolutely love every single day that I drive this car. The fifth mod that I would do with my $1,000, we're actually going to stay in the inside of the car. And it kind of works with the actual Cartboy short shifter that I chose. I'm going to be choosing a new shift knob. Now there's a lot of options to go with. There's weighted ones, they're different brands, they're different materials, there's tons of different options you can choose. This is obviously personal preference. For me, I absolutely love the Cobb Delrin shift knob. It is the perfect size, it is the perfect weight, and I think it honestly looks the best in this interior. I've tried weighted shift knobs, I've tried really expensive shift knobs, and I ultimately ended up going back to this Cobb Delrin shift knob. This is actually my third Cobb knob. I had one on my previous WRX. I had another Cobb knob on this car. which had the red ring at the bottom. I ended up selling that and going with something else, and I ultimately ended up going back to it. But this time I chose black. Not that it really matters, but it's an absolutely awesome knob. The reason why I like a much lighter shift knob is because it increases the overall notchiness of the car. I don't like, as I said, I don't like weighted knobs. It really numbs the feeling down, and it makes it too smooth. I really like to feel the car going into gear. When you have this setup with the Cartboy and the Cobb shift knob, there's no question of what gear you're going in. There's no guesswork. It feels so awesome, and I absolutely love this combo. But the shift knob alone is very reasonable. You can spend up to a couple $100s on a shift knob, which is pretty crazy. But this one is very reasonable. It comes in at $70. You know, it's not going to break the bank. It comes in a couple different colors. I have the black on black. They also have black on red. They also have a white knob with the red or black too. So, you know, there's options there. They also used to have a blue ring at the bottom, but I don't believe they sell that anymore, which I don't know why. I feel like that was very popular. Either way, or whatever color you end up choosing, the Cobb shift knob is definitely the way to go. So the sixth and final mod that I would choose with my $1,000 is lighting. Now there's a ton of different lighting options that you can go with this car. You can literally change every single bulb, every single little thing on this car in terms of lighting. But the one thing that I would definitely suggest doing is getting some proper fog lights. Now the ones I have are obviously not the ones I'm going to choose, because these alone are $200. These are the Diode Dynamics SS3 fog lights, but you can get a really reasonably priced LED bulb that will definitely help with your overall output and your overall look and lighting of the car. Now the ones that I would choose, they're by a company called Subi LED. I've ran them for many years. I'm actually running their high beam bulbs in there. I used to run them in the fogs before I got these as well. But you can get a very nice H11 fog bulb for around $45. You can actually even use the promo code STI Freak, which is my promo code, and you get 15% off as well. So you get a really nice bulb. I actually ran them for 2.5 years, I would say, and I never had an issue. You can change the color of them by changing the film on there. So you can do, you can do a white, a blue, a yellow, whatever you want. If you look back on some previous videos and previous posts on my Instagram, you will see that I had yellow fog lights as always, but a while ago I was just running the Subi LED yellow fog lights, which is basically just a yellow film on it. People always commented on them. They had a really nice color, and it really helped with the overall visibility. The reason why I choose yellow is because the human eye can actually depict yellows and oranges much better than whites or purples. So putting a yellow fog light actually helps you see at night. It helps you cut through the fog. It allows your eyes to see much easier, doesn't get as tiresome. So I always choose yellow fog lights in my cars. Obviously it looks cool, but personally I choose yellow because it just performs better. It's easier on the eyes, and it just helps me see at night, see in the rain, see in the bad weather. So yellow is something that I always choose. But as I said, $45 and you'll get a really good quality LED bulb that will last for years. So if you guys were keeping track, that came out to $1,010.98. Yeah, I'm over budget about $10, but hey, close enough. But that is what you can get with $1,000. You're literally touching all the really important parts of the car. You're touching the drive chain, you're touching the exhaust, you're touching suspension, you're touching lighting. So you're touching a little bit of everything. And I honestly felt that with that $1,000 worth of mods, you really get a very well-rounded car. You can really change up what you want and everything, but personally, that's what I would choose. Obviously, like I said, you're gonna have to take labor into consideration. You're gonna have to take an alignment into consideration, because if you lower the car, you're gonna be out of spec. But still, that $1,000 will get you a lot of things. You can just blow it all and get, some really good tires, or you can get an access port or whatever you want. But ultimately, I would rather touch other parts of the car and get a very well-rounded WRX or STI just with one round of mods. Obviously the other stuff is fun, but it's just way more expensive, and honestly, if you're just looking to do a few things, I think $1,000 will get you really far. When I first thought of this idea for the video, I was like, oh no, how am I gonna choose a bunch of mods for $1,000? I started picking, and it ended up being like 2 mods and 3 mods, and I was like, you know what? Let me go a little bit cheaper and kind of touch the important parts of a car. And I really feel that those 6 mods that I just named will definitely make your car a pretty sweet daily driver and just a fun back road carver. Like I said, you're touching everything. You're getting good sound, you're getting good performance, you're getting good shifting, you know, you have better light. Everything is performance oriented. You know, I'm not gonna say, you know, do mirror caps or do a spoiler or do some carbon fiber bits. You know, that stuff is really cool, but it serves no purpose other than just looking good. I mean, I get it. If you're just all about aesthetics, you don't want to touch performance, then by all means spend $1,000 on whatever you want. But that is just personally what I would do. I hope you guys found this helpful. A lot of people ask me this question, you know, I have X amount of money, what would you spend it on mods? And personally, I know $1,000 is a lot. If you're not looking to put too much money into the car, $1,000 is really not that much. And you know, you could probably save up for a couple months or however long it takes you, do some side jobs, and be able to get all this done. So let me know what you guys think below. Are those mods or something that you would do? What would you do with $1,000? Would you, do all cosmetic stuff? Would you do what I said? Would you do something completely different? Or would you just save it and invest it? It's entirely up to you, obviously, but I just hope this helps some of you, gets you some clarification, gives you kind of a head start to get an idea of what you can do with this car for only $1,000. But leave some comments below. I'm interested to hear what you guys think of what you would do with $1,000. But that's it for this one, guys. I hope this was helpful. As I said, there's still plenty to come with this car. I'm still modding it. I'm still having fun with it. I still absolutely love it. Be sure to subscribe to make sure you stay up to date with my build and with the car and everything that I'm doing with it. If you guys have any questions on previous mods that I have in this car currently, be sure to check back on old videos. I promise you, I have a video on literally every single mod that I've done on this car. I've done detailed videos, I've done anything you can name. I have a lot on this car, so be sure to check those. But that's it for this one, guys. In the meantime, keep it clean, keep it simple, and I'll catch you in the next one.